Louis Vandenberg, University of California, KUCR, at NAMM 2025 with Jean from Kurzweil, a keyboard I have some history with. Last year we spoke about the 2700, and I bought one. And you're welcome. Congrats. It was your fault. And but you were showing some keyboards that weren't actually production models.
Correct, they were prototypes.
And now they're out there for sale, they're here.
Correct.
So let's talk about what you're offering, and I'm assuming they're going to come in at a lower price point.
Yes, well in particular the latest model is what we call the K2061. Again, prototype last year, but it's in production now. Soon to be available probably within the spring of this year. It's basically reinvention of the original K2000. The K2000 was our first VAST engine-based synthesizer going back to 1991.
For our viewers, what does VAST mean?
It means Variable Architecture Synthesis Technology, which is a lot of words that mean basically modular synthesis. If you're any of the people out there familiar with, back in the day we had rooms of large, synthesizers that would take up a wall. And
yeah, like with Stevie Wonder's album going.
Connect, an oscillator to a filter with a patch cord. That kind of system took a tremendous amount of space. Well, if you digitize that and put it into a keyboard, that's essentially what the K2000 was back in 1991. But 1991, obviously we've progressed, and there's a lot of technological changes that have occurred. So we said to ourselves, could we rebuild that pioneering device in this year, 2025, with the newest and latest that we've gotten developed over 30 years of learning about our own system more and more about how to perfect it. So that's what the 2061 is. It's a lot of the original presets from the K2000 era, retweaked and tooled to be in the new and latest version of VAST, taking advantage of all the advances of VAST over the years.
I would imagine one of the concerns with Kurzweil in the past has been cartage. There's some keyboards you've made have been quite heavy. So.
Correct. Well, the 2061 is only 26 pounds. But it still is sold as the original, some of our earlier K2 models in a solid steel and aluminum chassis. So you're still getting the benefits of a solid, true instrument, not plastic or polymer or anything like that. But the weight is still maintained at 26 pounds. The key bed on this, Synth Action, is the very same key bed that we used on the original K2000, which a lot of people loved. It's a FATAR TP9 going back, again, 30 years. You can load in all of the original sounds, so if any that we didn't think to retweak and put in the box, there's over 2,500 of them, you can load your own presets from the K2000, 2500, K2600, and all the modern era instruments as well. So if you've got a friend that, I have a 2700, you can load his sounds into the K20 as well.
Okay, so this is forward and backwards compatible with the current models?
Not completely backwards to those models, but definitely all forwards. There's some limitations going backwards just because it's a long story, but there's a lot of newer things in these models that don't necessarily one-for-one translate to older models.
Is the sound set in this the same as?
Brand new. 2,500 new, that's what I was saying, completely retooled sounds. A lot of them pulled from the old K2000, 2,500, 2,600, but put into VAST has changed a lot. So it's taking those ingredients and putting it in a whole new kitchen, essentially, with a new cook.
All right, and then what do we have here with this? Is it that's 20? This is 2061, and we have the 20088 here. Obviously 88 keys.
Right. For those who are saying, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea," but I'm not a synth player guy. I like the weighted piano action. We offer the TB40L, another FATAR action, and an 88 note. So same functionality, same features, same sound set, but in an 88 note package.
One of the things I always loved about Kurzweil was the ribbon. There's the strip on here.
Yes, absolutely. That was first, for our company anyway, released in the K2500 in 1995. And it's been something that was resurrected as an option in a lot of models in the last 15 years, but you bought it as an extra accessory.
I have one of those as well. Yeah.
So starting with the K2700, which was released a number of years ago, we started putting it back built in, embedded on the front panel, and that's also repeating itself here in the K20 series. It's a single ribbon strip, again, same as the other models that use it, but it also can be used as 3 separate smaller sections, completely programmable by the user. The obvious use is pitch, but so many people use it for triggering notes, opening and closing filters, controlling the tempo of the arpeggiators. Pretty much the sky's the limit. Anything that moves on this board, with a few exceptions, you get to tell it what it does. We ship it obviously doing certain things we think you'd like, but it's completely customizable to your approach, both performance and workflow. We offer a variety of views in the machine. Some people like to see different things on screen, so you can have, for example, a large view where you see, especially on stage, a larger printout. And for us, getting a little older, easier to read with a bigger font and so forth. But you can also go into what we call a quick access view, which superimposes on top of that your group of favorite 10 sounds for instant recall, just like radio station presets in your car. Same kind of idea. One button push and you can go through your 10 groups. But then you've got numerous banks of those groups of 10. So you're not stuck with just 10. You've got 50 banks worth of those 10. The third view you've got is a list view. For those who want more of a perspective of where you are in the list, you can then expand things out and look at it in the list. Regardless of mode, we have a category browser that allows you to search through all the sounds by category type, which is one approach. We also have a method of just scrolling linearly like any keyboard would. And we also have a search string, one of my favorites, where if you said, I love that bass patch, I cannot for the life of me. We got 2,500 sounds in here, where the hell was that?
That does happen.
So you can go into what we call search string mode, where you can type in on the keypad just a fragment even of the sound. If you remember a portion of the name even, let's say it was a bass of some kind. And it'll immediately start you in the list with the first thing it finds that matches, just like a browser search on the web of any kind, no different. And then you can step through forwards and backwards every single sound that matches that to any degree. We take that a step further for those nerds that want to go deeper. That applies to every edit layer as well. So if you go in and you're dealing with an individual sample and you can't remember that sample, search string it. I can't remember that compressor effect I'd pulled up, search string it and find it. So everything is searchable by name as well as traditional methods of searching. So it's just another example of how we like to think we don't force you to operate with the board the way we want you to. We give you a variety of ways to accomplish the same task, and you get to find out what workflow and performance methods appeal to you best. And that's consistent with most of our pro boards.
It used to be that Kurzweil had an excellent sequencer. Don't seem to.
Correct.
Where are we with that?
Identical 16-track sequencer that was in the 2700 is making a repeat here as well. And that's right off the front panel. You've got transport controls. You can still do it within the screen, but we put those on the front panel to make it a little bit easier. Tempo control as well for the sequencer. And then you've got your layout on screen here, where you can go in and record 16 tracks, an on-screen mixer in 2 great banks of 8. So real simple.
One of the great things about an onboard sequencer is the capture of ideas very easily.
On the fly, absolutely. Yep. But we also offer, surprisingly for a built-in sequencer on a keyboard where most people are on DAWs these days, and really in-depth tools for editing that you won't find in most built-in keyboards.
I'm well aware.
Things like that I find sometimes even hard doing on a DAW, like I want to quantize only the C3 note that I struck, because somehow miraculously I played the rest of the track great, but every time I struck C3, my timing was off or whatever. You could want to just tell it to quantize all the C3s in my performance, that sort of particularity if you really want to get that way.
Yeah, that's great. Jean, we really appreciate talking to you and catching us up with what Kurzweil is doing, and it's always significant. This may not be the flavor of the month for some people, but this is a superbly equipped keyboard system that you have here. The sounds are spectacular, and just a sense of artistry and control you have when playing the keyboard. It's no wonder that you see a lot of live Broadway usage of Kurzweil keyboards, at least I've seen it, and there are no shortage of devotees to Kurzweil. Isn't that your experience?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Again, the versatility I think attracts that in the sense that we talk about this all the time amongst ourselves. If I gave the 3 of us here this keyboard and said, go off and make a Moog bass sound, for example, we'd all go off and do our thing, and it might even sound identical. But when we came back and compared notes, I would have gone about it a different way than you went about it, different than he went about it. And that's the beauty. It doesn't force you to work one way. You can get to the same end results in a manner that appeals to your thinking and approach to things. And that appeals to a lot of industries because everybody goes about things differently.
Jean, thanks for telling us about keyboard here at NAMM 2025, University of California, KUCR. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And map pricing on this is $21.99.
Thank you. I forgot to ask. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks. Bye-bye.